I never thought I'd resent my own parents. Growing up, they were my heroes, hardworking, caring, and always putting our family first. But life has a way of revealing people's true colors, especially when money gets involved. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and at 31, I was doing pretty well for myself. After getting my MBA, I landed a great job at a tech startup in Seattle, managing their financial operations. The salary was excellent, and I had carefully built up a solid retirement fund. My younger sister, Emma, had moved to New York for her fashion career, leaving me as the only child near our parents in Washington state. Everything changed on a rainy Tuesday in March 2023. I was in the middle of a budget meeting when my phone buzzed with repeated calls from Mom. When I finally stepped out to answer, her voice was shaking. "Your father's been let go," she sobbed. "The company's downsizing. 20 years of loyalty, and they just. I left work early that day to drive to their house in Tacoma. Dad sat in his favorite armchair, still wearing his work clothes, staring blankly at the wall. The termination letter lay crumpled on the coffee table. "It's not just me," he said, his voice hollow. "The whole department's gone. They're outsourcing everything to India." At 57, Dad was at that awkward age, too young for retirement, too old to easily start over. Mom had been a part-time elementary school librarian for years, but her salary barely covered groceries. They had some savings, but with their mortgage and car payments, it wouldn't last long. "Don't worry," I said, hugging them both. "We'll figure this out." I had no idea those words would cost me everything I'd worked for. The first month wasn't so bad. Dad threw himself into job hunting, updating his resume and networking. Mom picked up extra hours at the library. I helped them revise their budget and cut unnecessary expenses. But as weeks turned into months, the rejections piled up. "Too experienced," they said. "Overqualified." What they meant was too expensive and too old. By month 3, their savings were dwindling. One evening, Mom called me in tears. They couldn't make their mortgage payment. "Just this once," she pleaded. "We'll pay you back as soon as your father finds something." I transferred $2,500 to their account that night. It was the first of many transfers. As summer approached, Dad's unemployment benefits weren't enough to cover their basic expenses. Their health insurance from his old job was ending, and Kiwabibre payments were astronomical. Mom's hours at the library were cut due to summer schedule changes. Each week brought a new crisis. The air conditioning broke during a heat wave, $4,000. Dad needed dental work, $3,200. The car required major repairs, $2,800. Each time, they turned to me, their voices growing less apologetic, more expectant. "Family helps family" became their mantra. I started dipping into my retirement savings, telling myself it was temporary. Dad would find a job, they'd pay me back, and I'd rebuild my fund. But the jobs never materialized. My sister Emma called occasionally from New York, full of sympathy but short on help. "I'm just starting out," she'd say. "My internship barely pays enough for rent." "But you're doing so well. Mom and Dad are so lucky to have you." Lucky, right. By the end of 2023, I had emptied nearly half of my retirement fund. My parents had stopped actively job hunting, instead spending their days watching TV and complaining about the economy. When I suggested Dad look into retail or customer service positions, they acted offended. "Your father's a senior systems analyst," Mom said sharply. "You can't work at Target. What would people think?" Their pride remained intact while mine paid their bills. The new year brought new expenses: property taxes, insurance premiums, home repairs. Each time I transferred money, a piece of my soul went with it. I started having anxiety attacks, watching my carefully planned future evaporate. My relationship with my parents changed too. They stopped asking about my life, my work, my dreams. Our conversations revolved entirely around their needs, their struggles, their next financial emergency. When I tried to discuss the mounting toll on my savings, they guilt-tripped me. "We sacrificed everything for you growing up," Mom would say. "We paid for your college, your braces, your first car. Now it's your turn to help us." I wanted to scream that they'd chosen to have children, chosen to make those sacrifices. I hadn't chosen this slow financial bleeding. Instead, I swallowed my resentment and kept paying. By March 2024, 1 year into their unemployment, I had drained over $180 $180,000 from my retirement fund. My dreams of early retirement, of buying a house, of starting my own business, all gone. I was living on instant noodles and working overtime to keep up with their demands. The breaking point came during a family dinner in April. I'd been avoiding their house, tired of the constant financial discussions, but Mom insisted. She'd made my favorite lasagna, which immediately put me on edge. In our family, favorite meals usually preceded difficult conversations. "Sarah, sweetie," Mom began once we were all seated, "your father and I have been thinking." I set down my fork, stomach churning. "We're not getting any younger," Dad continued. "And this job market, well, it's unlikely to improve for someone my age. What we're thinking," Mom jumped in, "is that maybe we should just retire early. We could sell the house, move somewhere cheaper. But we'd need some help with the transition." I stared at them, disbelief turning to anger. "Help with the transition? You mean more money? After everything I've given you?" "Given?" Dad's face reddened. "We're your parents. Everything you have because of us." "Everything I had," I corrected him, standing up. "I've drained my retirement fund supporting you for the past year, and now you want more?" Mom reached for my hand. "Darling, we know it's been hard. But once we're settled, we'll pay you back. You're young. You have time to save again." That's when something in me snapped. Time to save again. My voice was eerily calm. I'm 31. I had $400,000 saved for retirement. Do you know how much compound interest I'm losing? Do you even care? They exchanged glances. "Of course we care," Mom said, "but family helps family." "No," I replied, grabbing my purse. "Family doesn't bankrupt family. Family doesn't take advantage. Family doesn't destroy their child's future because they're too proud to take a retail job." I walked out, ignoring their calls. As I drove home, tears streaming down my face, I made a decision. No more. I couldn't set myself on fire to keep them warm anymore. The next day, I sent them an email. "Dear Mom and Dad, I love you, but I can't continue supporting you financially. I've given you $180,000 from my retirement fund over the past year. That's more than enough to cover your transition to whatever comes next. From now on, you'll need to figure things out on your own. Take the retail job, Dad, sell the house. Move somewhere cheaper, do whatever you need to do. But don't ask me for any more money. Love, Sarah." The response was a barrage of angry calls and guilt-tripping texts. I held firm, blocking their numbers after the third voicemail about my ingratitude. 2 weeks later, Emma called from New York. "Mom and Dad are furious," she said. "They're telling everyone you abandoned them." "What do they tell everyone about the $180,000 I gave them?" Silence. That's what I thought. Little did I know, the real shock was yet to come. But that would have to wait until that fateful day in June, when my phone buzzed with a news alert that would change everything. The news alert came on a sunny June morning. I was at my desk, buried in spreadsheets, when my phone buzzed. Local news alert: $2 million winning lottery ticket sold at Johnson's Mini Mart in Tacoma. I almost scrolled past it. After all, what do I care about some lucky stranger's windfall? But something made me pause. Johnson's Mini Mart, that was 2 blocks from my parents' house. They bought their weekly lottery tickets there every. No, it couldn't be. Hands shaking, I opened Facebook, and there it was. My mother's status update, posted just 3 minutes earlier. God is good. After 2 years of struggles, our prayers have been answered. #bliss, #lottery, #millionaires. The room started spinning. 2 years of struggles. The struggles I had bankrupted myself to help them through. Those struggles. I closed my office door and called Emma. "Did you see?" She answered without preamble. $2 million. Can you believe it? Have you talked to them? My voice sounded strange, distant. "Yeah, they called me right after they confirmed the win. They're getting a financial advisor, talking about buying a condo in Florida." She paused. "They, mentioned you." "What did they say?" "Just that, well, that they'd take care of their debts eventually, but first they want to enjoy their blessing." Blessing, right. I hung up and spent the next hour staring at my computer screen, seeing nothing. $2 million. After everything they'd taken from me, after destroying my financial future, they'd won $2 million. And their first thought wasn't to repay me. It was to buy a condo in Florida. My phone kept buzzing with notifications. Apparently, my parents were doing a full media tour. Local news websites featured their smiling faces, telling their inspiring story. "It's been a tough few years," Dad told the Tacoma Tribune. "But we never lost faith. Now we can finally enjoy our retirement in style." Not one mention of how they'd survived those tough few years. Not one word about their daughter who had sacrificed everything. I left work early, unable to concentrate. Driving home, I passed 3 different billboards advertising the lottery. Each one felt like a personal mockery. That evening, my parents finally called. "Sarah, darling." Mom's voice was higher than usual, almost giddy. "Did you hear our wonderful news?" "I saw it on Facebook," I replied flatly. "Congratulations. We're meeting with the Lottery Commission tomorrow to arrange the payment," Dad chimed in. "After taxes, we'll clear about $1.4 million. We're thinking of buying a place in Naples, that lovely area in Florida we visited 10 years ago. When are you planning to repay me?" Silence. "Well, sweetheart," Mom said carefully, "we need to be smart about this money. We're not getting any younger, and with the cost of living these days." "You're telling me," I cut in, "that after taking $180,000 from my retirement fund, after I sacrificed my future to keep you afloat, you're prioritizing a Florida condo over paying me back?" "Now, Sarah," Dad's voice took on that patronizing tone I'd grown to hate. "You're young. You have plenty of time to rebuild your savings. This is our retirement we're talking about. And anyway, you didn't sacrifice anything. You did what any good daughter would do." I laughed. I couldn't help it. It was that or scream. Any good daughter? Really? Where was Emma during all this? Oh right, she was just starting out. Well, guess what? Thanks to you, I'm starting over too. Don't be dramatic, Mom sighed. We'll pay you back, eventually. But right now, we need to focus on securing our future. What about my future? I was shouting now. What about the hundreds of thousands in compound interest I've lost? What about my dreams of buying a house, starting a business, having kids? Don't take that tone with us, Dad snapped. We raised you better than this. Money isn't everything, Sarah. Family comes first. Funny how that only applies when you need something from me. I hung up. Over the next few weeks, I watched on social media as my parents celebrated their win. Dinners at expensive restaurants, shopping sprees, a brand new Mercedes to replace the car I had paid to repair. Each post was accompanied by hashtags about blessings and gratitude. The final straw came when they announced they'd bought their Florida condo. $600,000. All cash. My sister Emma liked every post, commenting with heart emojis and congratulations. I'd had enough. Time to fight fire with fire. First, I gathered every record of every transfer I'd made to them. Bank statements, emails discussing the payments, text messages, everything. Then I wrote a detailed post. A story about family, money, and trust. In March 2023, my parents lost their jobs. Over the next year, I supported them by draining my retirement savings, $180,000 in total. I lived on ramen noodles while paying their mortgage. I canceled my own dreams while funding their lifestyle. Last month, they won $2 million in the lottery. Their response? "Don't worry, we'll pay you back. Someday." After buying a $600,000 condo in Florida. This is what they mean by family comes first. I attached the proof, statement after statement showing transfers to their account. Text messages begging for help with bills, emails promising to pay me back. Then I posted it on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I made sure to tag the local news stations that had run their inspiring story. Within hours, it went viral. The local news station that had originally covered their win ran a follow-up story. Lottery winners face backlash. Daughter reveals dark side of rags to riches tale. My parents' phones exploded with calls from friends and relatives. Their Facebook comments shifted from congratulations to criticism. Local Facebook groups that had celebrated their win now shared my post, calling them out. That evening, they showed up at my apartment. "How could you do this to us?" Mom was crying. "We're your parents. How could you win $2 million and not immediately repay the daughter who saved you from homelessness?" I countered. "We were going to pay you back," Dad insisted. "We just needed to secure our future first." "My future," I screamed. "What about my future, the one I gave up for you?" "Fine. Dad pulled out his phone. "We'll transfer you the money right now. Will that make you happy? Will that make you stop destroying our reputation?" I looked at them, really looked at them. My mother dabbing her eyes with a silk scarf that still had the price tag on it. My father wearing an expensive new watch while offering to repay his debt like it was a favor to me. "It's not about the money anymore," I said quietly. "It's about realizing that you see me as nothing but a resource to use. A backup plan. An ATM with your daughter's face." "That's not true," Mom protested. "We love you." "Maybe you do, but you don't respect me, you don't appreciate me, and you certainly don't treat me like family." I opened my apartment door. "I think you should leave. Have your lawyer contact me about repayment. I don't trust your promises anymore." "Sarah, please," Mom reached for me. I stepped back. "Enjoy Florida." After they left, I sat on my couch and cried. Not for the money, they would repay me now. The public pressure had guaranteed that. I cried for the death of what I thought my family was. For the parents I believed in. For the daughter who had trusted blindly. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. "I had no idea how much you'd given them. I'm so sorry. I should have helped. Too little, too late, sis." The lawyer's office was cold, impersonal, perfect for this kind of meeting. 2 weeks had passed since my viral post, and now we're all sitting around a mahogany conference table, avoiding eye contact. My parents' lawyer, an elegant woman in her 50s, laid out the terms. My clients proposed to repay the full $180,000, plus 8% interest calculated from the date of each transfer. The total comes to $198,450. They're prepared to wire the funds today. My own lawyer, a former colleague's husband who'd taken my case pro bono after seeing my post, shook his head. The lost compound interest over 30 years would have amounted to significantly more. We're talking about retirement funds that were intended to grow. The law doesn't require them to pay theoretical future gains, their lawyer countered. No, my lawyer agreed. But moral obligation might suggest a more generous settlement. Mom burst into tears. Right on cue. "We're trying to make this right. Why are you punishing us?" I stayed silent, staring at the wall behind them. On it hung one of those generic motivational posters about success. The irony wasn't lost on me. My clients will increase the offer to $250,000, their lawyer said after a whispered consultation. Final offer. I looked at my lawyer and nodded. It wasn't about the money anymore. I just wanted this over. The paperwork was signed within the hour. The money would be in my account by end of day. My parents tried to hug me as we left. I stepped back, gathered my things, and walked out without a word. That should have been the end of it, but family drama never ends cleanly. Emma flew in from New York the next weekend. She showed up at my apartment unannounced, looking like she'd stepped off a fashion magazine cover. "We need to talk," she said, brushing past me into my living room. "This has to stop." "What has to stop?" I asked, though I knew exactly what she meant. "This vendetta against Mom and Dad. They paid you back. More than paid you back. Why can't you just forgive and forget?" I sat down, suddenly tired. Have you ever had to choose between paying your rent and helping family? Well, no, but have you ever looked at your retirement account and seen nothing? $0? Watched all your hard work disappear because someone else felt entitled to it? They're our parents, Sarah. They raised us. And that gives them the right to destroy my financial future, to win the lottery and think about condos before paying back their debt. Emma paced my small living room. They made a mistake. They apologized. They paid you back. What more do you want? I want the last year of my life back, I said quietly. I want to unknow what I know about them now, about how they really see me. They love you. They love what I can do for them. There's a difference. Emma sat down beside me. Look, I know I should have helped more. I couldn't afford. You couldn't afford it. I cut her off. But I had to afford it. Funny how that worked. That's not fair. None of this is fair, Emma, but it's reality. My reality for the past year while you liked their Facebook posts and sent thoughts and prayers. She stood up abruptly. Fine, stay bitter. Push away your whole family. I hope it makes you happy. After she left, I checked my bank account. The $250,000 had landed. I should have felt relieved, vindicated even. Instead, I just felt empty. The next few weeks were quiet, too quiet. No calls from my parents, no texts from Emma. My viral posts have faded from local news, replaced by newer dramas. Life should have been getting back to normal. But at night, lying in bed, I'd replay memories from my childhood. Mom nursing me through the flu, Dad teaching me to ride a bike, family game nights and summer barbecues. Had it all been conditional? Love offered freely until they needed something in return. I started seeing a therapist, Dr. Jensen. In her calm office, with its soft lighting and comfortable chairs, I tried to make sense of everything. "You're mourning," she said during one session. "Not just the money, but the relationship you thought you had with your parents." "I just don't understand how they could do it," I said. "How they could take and take and take, then win the lottery and not immediately think of paying me back." "Sometimes people show us exactly who they are," she replied. "The question is, what do we do with that knowledge?" My parents emailed me pictures of their new Florida condo. "We'd love for you to visit," Mom wrote. "Family healing retreat." I didn't respond. Emma called to tell me she was engaged. The wedding would be in 6 months. "Mom and Dad are paying for everything," she said, her voice careful. "They want you to be a bridesmaid." "Congratulations," I said. "I'll send a gift." "Sarah, please, don't punish me for their mistakes." "I'm not punishing anyone. I'm protecting myself." The $250,000 sat in my account, untouched. I couldn't bring myself to invest it yet. It felt tainted somehow, marked by the struggle it had taken to get it back. Dr. Jensen suggested I write letters to my parents, not to send, just to express my feelings. I filled pages with anger, hurt, disappointment. But underneath it all was a question I couldn't shake. How do you trust again once you've seen behind the curtain? Fall turned to winter. My parents sent a Christmas card, them on a Florida beach, tanned and smiling. "Missing you," they wrote. "Doors always open." I put the card in a drawer without responding. Emma's wedding invitation arrived in January. I sent back that RSVP marked regrets. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. Sometimes the ashes are all you get to keep. 1 year after the lottery win, I finally invested the settlement money. Dr. Jensen said it was a sign of healing, being able to touch that money without feeling the weight of betrayal. I split it between a high-yield retirement account and a down payment fund for a house. Not quite making up for what I'd lost, but a start. Emma's wedding came and went. She sent me pictures, her in white, our parents beaming beside her, the Florida beach at sunset behind them. I sent her a set of crystal champagne flutes and a card wishing her happiness. She didn't respond. My own life was changing too. The startup I worked for was acquired by a larger tech company, bringing a surprise windfall of stock options. I started dating Michael, a software engineer I met at a company event. He had his own complicated family story, which made him understand my boundaries without me having to explain too much. Then, on a rainy March morning exactly 2 years after Dad lost his job, Mom had a stroke. Emma called me from a hospital in Florida. "It's not severe," she said, her voice shaking. "But the doctors say she'll need therapy care. They're asking about family medical history. Sarah, they need you here." I booked a flight. Walking into that Florida hospital room was like stepping into another dimension. Mom looked small in the white bed, her usually perfect hair messy against the pillow. Dad sat beside her, his face aged 10 years since I'd last seen him. "Sarah," Mom's voice was slurred but clear. "You came?" "Yeah, Mom, I came." We didn't talk about the past. Not then. We discussed her prognosis, good. Her therapy plan, intensive. Her medications, many. I answered the doctor's questions about our family history. I helped Dad navigate insurance forms. That evening in a hospital cafeteria, Dad broke down. "I know we hurt you," he said, staring into his coffee cup. "Winning that money, it did something to us. Made us forget what really mattered." "It wasn't the winning," I said quietly. "It was everything before. Taking and taking until I had nothing left. Then winning and thinking of yourselves first. The money just showed me who you really were." He nodded slowly. Is there any way to fix this?" I thought about Dr. Jensen's words about acceptance, about how sometimes moving forward means accepting that relationships can't go back to what they were, but might become something new. "I don't know," I answered honestly, "but I'm here now." Mom's recovery was slow but steady. I stayed for a week, then returned to Seattle. We started talking more. Weekly phone calls, occasional texts, not about money or the past, but about small things. Her therapy progress, my work, the weather. Emma visited me in Seattle after her honeymoon. Over coffee, she said, "I get it now. Why you couldn't just forgive and forget." I watched them spend money on my wedding like it was nothing, knowing what they put you through. It wasn't right. No, I agreed. It wasn't. "Are we okay?" she asked. "We're getting there." Michael proposed in December, a quiet moment in my apartment with takeout Chinese food and his grandmother's ring. When I called Mom to tell her, she didn't mention hosting the wedding or offering to pay. Instead, she said, "Tell me about him. Tell me what makes you happy." It was a small step, but a significant one. The trust fund I'd lost will never fully recover. The compound interest of those early investment years is gone forever. But I'm building something new, not just financially, but emotionally. Dad emails me articles about investment strategies now, a silent acknowledgement of what they took from me. Mom sends pictures of her therapy progress, each one a reminder that family can mean showing up without keeping score. Last week, they asked if Michael and I would visit them in Florida. I haven't said yes yet, but I haven't said no either. Some bridges can't be rebuilt exactly as they were, but maybe we can build something different, something with stronger foundations and clearer boundaries. Dr. Jensen says healing isn't linear. Some days I'm still angry. Some days I still mourn what was lost, not just the money, but the innocent trust I once had in my parents. But most days I'm focused on building my future, a future that includes family but doesn't revolve around their needs. After all, that's what they taught me in the end. The importance of putting yourself first sometimes, of building your own security before helping others. It wasn't the lesson they meant to teach, but it's the one that stuck. The lottery ticket that changed everything still hangs on my bulletin board. A reminder not of what I lost, but of what I gained: strength, boundaries, and the knowledge that sometimes the hardest kind of love is the kind that says no. They say money can't buy happiness, but losing it taught me something valuable. True family isn't measured in dollars and cents, but in respect, understanding, and mutual support. Sometimes it takes losing everything to learn what really matters. And sometimes, just sometimes, what you rebuild is stronger than what you lost.